Well, thank you, SG. And, I just wanted to say good morning to everybody and, good morning to Jake because he worked with me to create this way back when a few years ago and turn it into a presentation. We figured out how to do this and use it to our advantage. And one thing I want to say before we start too is Michelle Turcott, congratulations on getting your broker's license. That's a big deal. So well done.
Thank you, Gary.
So I will move into the slideshow shortly, but I'm just going to talk about it a little bit first in terms of how important all these social media platforms are. And sometimes it can feel kind of overwhelming. There's a lot going on and a rapid advancement of every kind of social channel and AI and you name it, right? There's just tons and tons of things going on and it's moving by the second. It's not by the year anymore. So for us, it's always been really important to be in that, and Google Lists and Google Your Business is something that I've advocated for a number of years and learned how to really use the backside of it. So outside of YouTube, a lot of people don't realize how powerful Google can be for so many things. So people in here as realtors, you have an opportunity to set up Google Your Business and set up a Google Your Business page. If you're on a team like Jenn's, that's something you obviously want to ask for permission to do because there is some crossover there. So make sure if you're on the team and you're going to set up a Google business page that you get that it's okay from the admins or support staff and Jennifer to be able to do that. Otherwise, if you're on your own, really your biggest challenge is two things: being compliant and making sure that you get it verified. So I'm going to just talk about that for a second because Google business page verification is much different than it used to be. They had a lot of problems with fraud and different things. So now it used to be they sent you out a code to set up a Google business page that they would mail to you. They now do a live verification with you. So you jump on a Google Meet with a Google employee and you have to prove that you're actually the owner of that address that you're looking to register as a business. And they want you to provide your driver's license, sometimes a tax bill, and they will definitely take you live on your camera. So always be on your phone. That's one of the things. And they take you outside. They want to see your vehicle. They want to see your license plate. Sometimes they'll make you walk down to the corner and put up the street sign on the camera. So a little bit of a serious side of it. And if you don't have it verified, then you don't really own it. Anybody could take that from you. So it's really important to verify your page so that you've got it secured and you can utilize it to its highest purpose. Few other things to realize about Google Your Business is you can do almost everything you can do on YouTube and other channels there. So for people like us, we do reels and shorts. We do monthly newsletters. Those are all things that you can embed into your Google business profile and build your audience, right? It's not necessarily just enough to have Instagram going and TikTok, any of the channels. This is also a channel as well that Google is really spending a lot of time creating their share of market share. So I encourage everybody to really start to look at Google. And SG and I were talking. So what we're going to do, I've got two presentations. One is basically covering everything Google with exception of YouTube, but more on the business side. And then there's the Google Lists, which is really what I want to talk about mostly today because it is a really impactful tool. And I'll take a second and talk about Google Lists before we get into the presentation. So with Google Lists, it allows you the ability to create a ground zero for the public or for yourself. So we use it really powerfully for listings and or buyers, but mostly we revolve it around listings. So let's just say I'm listing 123 Main Street in Aurelia. I go right into Google Lists and I'm going to show you how to do this momentarily. Create a list for that address. And then typically what I do this prior to going to a listing appointment to win the listing. And then once we've got the listing, we then modify the list. However, I usually show up 10, 15 minutes early, pull out front of the house, get a good look at the house, sometimes take a picture, and I build a little bio around that list because you can do just that with it. And then I go into the area. So I just mentioned Aurelia. So I just pull up Aurelia on the maps, which will usually populate anyway if you've got your geotagging on. So it'll know exactly where you are. and I build a list really quickly. So for any of you here like me, there's lots of important things, right? I want to know where the restaurants are, parks, lakes, schools, churches, anything that's of importance, municipal offices. And I build a list, and I can do this in 5 minutes and build a list of 30 to 40, 50 places that are relevant for people. And where it becomes really impactful is two ways, right? It helps us win the listing. So what has happened with us over time, much like probably the majority of you, you're not just working in your own backyard. So for us, similar to Jenn's team, we work in the Kawarthas, Simcoe, York, the city, we're all over the place. And when you're often dealing with somebody you haven't talked to before, one of the biggest challenges I had when I had my old team, it was called the York Region Eco Team. So when I'd be talking to somebody out in the Kawarthas, the first thing they'd ask me is, why is somebody from York Region calling me when I'm in the Kawarthas? And I'm like, well, that's a great question. And I'd have to explain to them, like, listen, it's just a name. We since then have dropped the name because it became such a challenge to have to constantly spend time talking that down. So that's why we're now called the Capstone Group. But what it allowed me to do, because right away they have a concern that you don't know the area as much as the local realtors. So I used that as an opportunity. I've been lucky enough to work a lot of areas. In my former life as a contractor, I was working in all of the majority of these areas. So it allowed me to objection handle pretty effectively. And then I also said, listen, one thing we're going to be able to do that majority of, and I've never seen anybody unless I've shown this to you, know how to do this, is that we can put out a digital list that shows everybody the most impactful things about your community, because the reality is it's not usually locals that are buying something in the neighborhood. It's often somebody coming from somewhere else, right? Unless they're moving up or moving down, but the majority is usually people coming in, right? They're immigrating to the area. So that allowed us the ability to really sway the sellers that were giving takeaway information that we can set it and forget it, for lack of better words. And how we do that, and I'll show you in the slideshow, I won't go down a rabbit hole yet, is that we create lists with QR codes that we embed that landing page on Google into, and that allows us to put that in the house when people come there. We also, when somebody does a buyer showing or books a buyer showing, especially if it's a cooperating buyer agent, we send that list to them, and it's non-branded, so they don't have to feel threatened or that we're interfering with their relationship with their buyer. It just gives them the best opportunity, because they're often coming in from somewhere else too and don't know the area. So there's a lot of things that create really good impact around it. And then I think what I'll do is I'll move into the slides right away, and I'll leave enough time for questions in the end. And again, guys, don't worry about keeping up. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. It'll be up on YouTube, and we're going to look to create some landing page links for you guys so that you can just have this in an evergreen manner and start to build it out on your own. And I encourage building it out because it works for us. We've won multiple listings by using just this. So introduction, I've already done that. This is Gina and myself. We've been in real estate since 2012, really actively full-time since 2014, and recently moved from down in the Georgina area up to where we are now, just north of Aurelia. So that gave us a great opportunity to really utilize this in many different ways, which, as we go down the slideshow, I'll show you guys how we're using it locally. And it is not allowing me to advance. So how to use Google Lists in your business to win sellers, buyers, and support co-op realtors, which is something I just described. So I'll just go back over it again. It has been a really impactful tool for us to win sellers. And frankly, even when we deal with buyers, especially, people moving into areas, we drop these lists to them, and, it just creates an evergreen list that they can utilize on an ongoing basis. And something that we do quite a lot is even in open houses. I'm like everybody, looking to meet people. When people come in, I ask where they're coming from, all that good stuff. And then, I also say, hey, once I know if we're up in Aurelia and you're coming from Toronto, very likely you don't know the area very well. So I always say, hey, are you guys, up here for the day? You thinking about maybe doing lunch or dinner? And the answer is usually, yeah, we probably will. Great. Well, you know what? pull out your phone, scan the QR code, which I'll show you how we've done that after, and you've got a list, right? And by the way, go to this restaurant, ABC Restaurant. It's the best restaurant in town. They love you for that because you just made it easy for them to navigate the area and know everything there is to know about the area. So you're helping them and you're helping your sellers get their property sold. So this is, what we would do when you start to look at building a list. So you would open up Google Maps, and if you don't have a Google account, well, then make sure you set one up. And why not would be my first question. You need to always have, everybody's using Google. So no judgment, but if you don't have a Google account, get one. So what you would do is you're going to see in the presentation that we send you is over here, there's three little lines, right, that are going to be relevant in a second to you. And you can see by virtue of this, it's already populating when you go on to Google Maps, the area that you're in, because if you've got your geotagging on, it knows you're in this area, and it starts to populate different businesses and things that are in that particular area. So where you want to go next in that three-line tab is once you click it, it's going to open up a window like this, and you're going to look for, it used to be called Your Places, it's now just called Saved Lists. So you're going to look for this Saved List tab, you're going to click on that, and then it's going to advance you into this. So this gives you an opportunity now to create a list, right? So first thing you want to do is go down to this plus sign down here, and you're going to click to add a new list, and then follow the instructions. You're going to go up here. We're going to call this one 123 Main Street, and then you just allow it to it auto saves. So now you've got a list created. So basically, you can go back to editing your list, and it'll be very clear once you get into doing this that you've now got this 123 Main Street. You can add a description to it, right? So that's where I was saying to everybody. If you haven't yet seen the listing, drive by, right? And at least take some quick notes and put a description in there. You've got 400 characters that you can do. Excuse me. And bear with me, I'm suffering with my allergies right now. What you can do within that list is you can add additional links, right? So if you want to drive people to your social channel or your website, you can embed that link in here and drive people. You want to keep people on your channels as much as possible, as much as promoting the property that you're going to either meet, or if you've got the listing that you're going to promote. Then you can see, as we put in here, certain places around the surrounding area. It already knows where you are, so it's already looking at different businesses that are registered in the area. But typically what I do is I go in and I just hit restaurants, Aurelia, right? And it'll populate every registered restaurant in Aurelia. And I can then go and grab those, and I'll show you in a second how to do that. And populate it to the list. And again, you can build a list of like 50 businesses in all of 5 minutes once you know where you're going here. So this would be, down in Keswick. When we were in Keswick, we pulled up Swiss Chalet, right? So most people like Swiss Chalet. You want to put it on the list. And simply all you do is, because you've already created the list, you now go to the save button. And when you hit that save button, it is going to open up your list. So you can see here, we've got quite a lot of lists. This is something that Jake and I used to do for communities, and or, when we were getting ready to list properties or have been listed with properties, we had a list for everything. So it seems kind of monotonous, but it definitely works on purpose, and it's very quick to navigate. So now where we went with that restaurant is you can just click it and add it to this particular list if this is the one you wanted to. And it's going to do it all for you. So it adds it right to the list, and then it's there, and then you go find the next business that you potentially want to add, right? You just keep adding it to that saved list by clicking save when you are on that particular business. Now, there's a couple really important things with regards to all of this. When you build these lists, just like a lot of things, if you're building a website or, landing pages, they tend to be unpublished until you publish them. This is exactly the same thing. So there's a couple things you want to consider when you're doing this. Firstly, this, get the link here is something you're going to do to share it. But these three buttons right beside it are really important for you. That allows you to take the list from private to public. So then it becomes a published searchable list. And it also allows you to go back in there and edit anything you want, right, with regards to that. So really critical that you guys always remember to look around and get to know these little buttons and things like that, because they are extremely important. If you leave that list in private, you will be able to look at it, but if you're sharing the link, it's going to be hidden. The public won't see it. So it's really, really critical to make sure you're publishing the list. The other thing that I want to talk about just quickly before we move on, so you can see we created a whole bio here, right, with regards to one of these properties, and have our landing links and different things in there, right? So it shows you how you can really be impactful with this. And the other thing that I like is, so let's just say we love Walmart, the one in Keswick, it's a great place, yada, yada, yada. We can go in here, as you can see, it's already showing all of its ranking, its ratings, its address, all of that good stuff. But it allows you, as the publisher of this, to go in and make a comment. Not in here where you're actually leaving a review. You can actually leave a comment about the specifics of that store, much like this up here. So it has a lot of impact that you can really personalize why these businesses are important to you. And before I move on, the other thing that's really important to talk about is you really want to get in the faces of local businesses that you support and tell them you've got lists like this, because they don't often know about this. I guarantee you they don't. So it gives you an opportunity to look like a superstar to them, and that you're promoting their business in a very healthy way to the community and non-community members coming here. So that is an opportunity right there to be able to win business with business owners in the community, and frankly show them how to do this on their own, so they can create their own ability to promote not only their business, other area businesses, to people coming in to their business, like an ice cream shop. People are coming from all over the place, pizza stores, things like that. So this is exactly what happens when you go into sharing that link. It's going to open a window like this that you're going to see, and you can see here it's got a drop down arrow that will say public, edit list, private. There's a number of things that'll come up. You definitely want to make sure this goes to public. And then here you can just copy this link. You can share it right to Facebook, Twitter. Those are the two defaults they have. Typically what I do is I copy this and then I take it and embed it in QR codes, right? So that we can utilize it in mass with QR codes. And again, I'm all about set it and forget it, right? The less I have to manage, the better. So we automate it and front end it, so it makes it really easy to not have to worry about anything other than either adding or deleting businesses going down the road. So QR codes. Everybody these days should know what a QR code is and how powerful and impactful they are. It allows everybody to be able to leverage things with ease. And if you click or take your picture take your camera and scan that QR code, you're going to see that was a listing we had on the lake last year. We're going to be relisting it this year coming. And we created just a quick quick list for that business. I'm tripping on my tongue right now. And it allows you to see what we were able to do for that seller, right, pretty quickly, and how we're utilizing it. So a couple things I want to suggest too. You can customize QR codes. So you can do that two ways, and I'll be leaving that in the presentation in a minute. We use Canva, and we also use Bitly. And with Bitly, you have to pay for the ability to be able to customize it. So if you wanted to put your logo in there, do funky colors, different patterns, different things like that, it's fairly easy to do, but you'd have to be in the paid side to do it. Otherwise, you're going to have this nice little Bitly logo in the center. Maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does, right? Brand to me is really important, so the more we can customize it, the better. So that is one of the things that we do, and we always ask for our clients' permission. We created this little template, we print it off, we put it right on the wall in the house, or we put it on a Coroplast card and put it in the house somewhere that people coming in can do just that, right? You want to get to know the area, you just follow the instructions, scan the QR code. Really powerful and impactful. So another way we do it, for us, we just moved into the area. So we're in more of a rural area. So there's not as many, door to door to door like a subdivision here where you can just go door knocking easy. We have a lot of back roads, rural houses, a lot of upscale housing here, waterfront. So often what we do, because they do have rural mail service here in mailboxes, if we don't have time to go out and door knock, we then go and hit the back roads, folding up letters just like this and dropping them in mailboxes, or you can do a mail walk, right? It really depends on what's in your budget. If you've got the budget to do a mail walk, then do the mail walk and focus on other things, right? If you don't have the budget, then this is the same as prospecting as far as I'm concerned. You're doing something to get people to know you. So, you'll see if you look at the letter, we're just talking about the ability to, buy and sell, because this is a market that, right now favors buying, right? We might be in a stable market that will never last for long, right? Or forever. So reality is prompt people into thinking about things that they're not usually thinking about. And then it just talks about getting to know us. We keep it very unbranded. I really want you to go down here and scan on these is really my motive with people. So this is our business card that's embedded in here. If anybody scans on it and you see it opens, it's likely going to open up Gina's. And what you can do is we use an app called Blink. It's a free app. There's a paid version. Really, it does everything I need to do in the free version, so I don't see a need to spend money on it unless you have something situated like Jennifer, where you've got a team and you want every agent to have an identity that replicates, the team atmosphere. Otherwise, just use the free side of it. And so, I've created in Canva these custom QR codes for that. And then we created a list for our area here that has a Google area attractions. So it's just covering the whole area. Every kind of business that's of interest to me is in there, or that would be to other people. Excuse me. So QR codes, high leverage, low cost. How do we use them? Bitly and Canva, right? As I was just explaining, this is the back end of Bitly. So, we've got a paid version. I keep the EXP colors because we're EXP agents. So it's got the EXP orange and the EXP blue. Our logo is embedded right in the center of it. So it really allows you to customize it. You can do a million different styles with this, as SG can tell you, because she's heavy into creating QR codes for the team and doing a really amazing job of creating really personalized QR codes. So, excuse me, everybody. The different ways we go about it, again, Canva, Bitly, Google, right? Just in case you forget, it'll be here in the presentation that you don't have to, then think about it. And then something that we do that I felt was really important, Google reviews as you get into your business are extremely important part of your business. They will sway people, whether you think they will or not. And we work on always getting, Google reviews. It can often be difficult to get clients motivated to give you a review. So I've made it really easy, because it can be sometimes a challenge to find, or you constantly have to push people. Even though you did a good job, it's just people don't think about how important this is to your business. So for us, I took it to another level where we created a letter, right? So I just, we designed this in Canva. That's a picture of Friday Harbor. I'm a photographer background, so I took a nice picture of Friday Harbor when the flowers were out, embedded it into the letter. Reviews by you matter, a breakdown of what your review means to us. And this is our family, right? So including our adopted daughter, and we talk about all of that. And it really influences people. And what I did is I went and I just registered a vanity URL. So you can go to GoDaddy, Namecheap, NetFirms. There's a million places you can go to register a URL. I registered reviewsbyoumatter.com. And then in the back end of your Google business page, there's a little link that allows you to pick up that landing page directly. So if you were to hit reviewsbyoumatter.com, it's going to take you right to where you leave a review on our business page. So you're not having people having to fumble their way through it, right? It's one thing if you know how to use all these apps. Some people really don't know how to navigate them. So we've made it really easy for them to get right to where they need to go. And that's it for the presentation. And I wanted to leave, excuse me, a few minutes for questions. So what I'll do is I'll wrap on that. There's contact information here for Gina and myself. If you need anything with regards to support on, Google and anything else that you might want to navigate, I'm always here and happy to help. Just reach out to me. There's a QR code for my business card and Gina's business card. We're always happy to guide and answer questions and anything you need to do, because we're doing more than just this, right? So, again, it can be an often overwhelming, situation for people to figure out, and we're kind of deep in the weeds with it. So we're always happy to help. And I'll leave it open for questions.
So amazing. Any questions, anyone? You can raise your hand or love this. So great. Thanks, Tanya. Gary, I have a question. I don't know if this is possible and if we have how easy it is to maybe hop into that. And I'm sure everyone else might have this question too, maybe just not thinking of it right now. Can you maybe show the way how you get from the starting point to the map place to start building the map?
Yeah, I can do that. So, I figured if we had enough time, that would be something that we would do. So
Yeah, that's great.
I'll
Thank
share
you.
my screen, right? So
Amazing.
this is the public facing side of the Capstone Real Estate Group. So we kind of, with our move, I had to restart our name, right? We were the York Region Eco Team, and they don't allow you to move things so very easily. So always think about this when you're doing this. So I had to recently do an address change, all of that. We lost all of the reviews we had with the York Region Eco Team because they wouldn't propagate it over here. So it, is something that we're now back into. And this is the public facing side of what people would see. This is way different than when you're in the back end. And I encourage everybody, and I'll go down the screen and then I'll show you how to do the list right away, to make sure that you are putting content into here, right? You can see as you go through this, we've got different things in here that we are adding and doing, and then the reviews are here. It allows them to search for us through here on our other social media channels that we're on. So lots of capabilities under one little roof here that allows people to navigate around and see more about you. So I'll move into where you really need to go to start doing this. So we're in our Capstone group. You click on those three arrows, tongue-tied, three arrows at the top, and it's going to take you into another window that it's going to open, right? And you can certainly go in here and navigate, anything you want, guys. There's tons of things that you can do here. And so what I really want you to do is go to the save list, and then it's going to pull up my saved lists, right? So here's the list that I've got right now. We were just up at a listing appointment last week in the Muskokas at a cottage. So I created a list for her to be able to, show her how we would showcase the property, especially being rural where she was. She is, out in the woods, 20 minutes northeast of Huntsville. So it really allowed us to be able to showcase her property in a way that is impactful. And then, right here, you can go right to this tab, hit new list. It's going to open a window, right? So you can just do whatever, take the name, create it, and then it's going to populate down in here. So, well, it's not populated here, but this is where I can now go in and create a description about that list, right? So you can type in whatever you want, put links in. You can now go in here and add places. This is a little more archaic of a way to do it. Usually what I do is I come back out of here and I go right into my saved list, which will be there. Right, so you can see that's there. So if I wanted to now, I can go up into the search bar and say Aurelia fire, right? Which it's going to look for fire halls. So I click on that, and right away it's going to blow it right down to where all the fire halls are in Aurelia. So now if I want to save this list, this fire station list, I just click on it and I go right to that save tab. And then I just hit it right to that list, right? So it'll add it right to that list. So you can see, guys, how quickly you can do this on the fly. When I'm on my phone, I literally can build a list of 30 to 50 places in 5 to 10 minutes. So it becomes really, really easy to do, very impactful, right? You are not promoting you as much. You are in a backwards way. You're showing your ability to really showcase people's properties and make it easy for buyers and sellers to be able to find these things. And again, this is a set it and forget it list, right? Once you've got it done, you can leave it evergreen, and once you're sold, pull it down, right? You have no need to promote a property that no longer belongs to that sellers. So that's something that I tell people, realize once the property owner no longer owns it, the new buyer may not want that kind of, information tallied around their property or attached to their property. So depublish the list, right? Just take it back to private and away you go. Public can't see it at that point. So that's the only real thing that you would want to make sure you're maintaining. And, keep it easy and fair and simple.
So good. Tanya, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
If you create a link for the list that you're making and you give it to your client, and at the time you only had a chance to get in maybe 10, 15 items, once they have the link and you've added in more places, do they get the updated list?
Yeah, so good question. So that link will never change. The list is the only thing that changes, right? So if you add or delete a business to it, that's automatic. It auto saves. That's the really nice thing about this. You don't have to go and do a bunch of homework. Remember, I got to send it to 2, 5, 100 people. The link stays the same, right? So great question with regards to that. And I think what I'll do is I'll show you too how to basically take this list and publish it, right? So you can see here, here's that list I created. These are the tabs, the 3 little dots that you want to go to. So you can go in here, edit the list if you want to add or delete a business, right? And then most importantly, you always need to remember this. This is the most important thing about this, your sharing options. So you can see it's set to private. If you want to share it, you have to hit shared, and then it's going to open, like it did show you guys before, another window. So now, because it's in shared, I can send a link to view, right? Which is then what you copy to embed in QR codes or however, wherever you're going to promote that list.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Gary,
that's
we had
great.
Kim in the comment section was asking, oh, just disappeared on me. She's saying, when you publish a place to public, does it show a link to everyone on Google Maps looking in that area to your listing?
So define that for me a little more. I'm not
Kim,
sure.
are you able to unmute?
Yes, I was just wondering if someone's looking just in that general area on Google Maps, you know how like if it's a business or something, you just click on it, would it be the same type of idea? Once you create a place, it'll show your listing on the map or?
So good question. It's not necessarily going to show that business in your list. This is a separate landing page, right? That business is within another list. So how it would actually show up is, let's just say you're selling 123 Main Street, Aurelia, right? So if somebody goes to search that, it's going to show up on realtor.ca, wherever somebody's, published anything regarding that address. That Google list will also show up in that search query, so that it allows people to be able to navigate towards that. Often it'll create more curiosity than anything because, again, I teach this and people love it once they learn it, but it's not something that's widely known amongst the public. And, this list is, frankly, for me, more impactful for realtors than almost anything we do to promote a property, because it's low-hanging fruit. It doesn't really cost anything more than time to, promote businesses. And again, guys, I can't stress enough, and hopefully I've answered your question, Kim, but if not, let me know. But what it really allows you to do is become a superstar in the community amongst business owners, your fellow realtors, because you're doing homework that they no longer have to do. So you're value adding to multiple places within your business.
Gary, we have a question from Carol. Do you have your top 5 places that you include in your list? So like, say for instance, restaurants and that kind of thing.
So that's a good question. I wish my top 5 could be number 1, the listing, right? That we could put in there and it would be right at the top of the list.
Yeah.
It doesn't, that's one thing. They kept it very unbiased. You cannot rank a list, right? It just shows up however it shows up in rank and order, from 1 to 100, right? It just definitely does not propagate a top 5 at all. So great question, Carol, but nice try. You can't manipulate it that way.
Do you have sorry, go ahead, Carol.
Sorry, just further to that. So Gary, for example, you just had that fire hall example that creates a list. Would you create a separate list for restaurants, or just in that one list, say fire hall, restaurants, and I don't know, craft stores? How would you
So
do that?
Good question. So when I create something for, say, a listing, I'm doing what, we all have similar tendencies of importance, right? Schools, churches, whatever's important to you is something you want in that list, right? So that would be one list I would create. And then what we also do is create a second list for the community, that then we break it down into restaurants, municipal fire, schools, parks, like my one list that I have here for the Muskokas actually has a rope swing, tree rope swing that is a registered business on Google. So I'm like, hey, that's fascinating to me because we love to do stuff like that. And that's a place somebody can now go on my list that they might not have ever known about otherwise, right? So, and you can use that as a little promotional tool as to why you want to use my list to go look at these things. It's really critical. Like in Aurelia, what we're even doing more of is spotlight reels and things about the community that, unless you're a local, you're just not going to know what Aurelia is all about. I mean, it's more than the town of Aurelia and more than a namesake for, a very popular singer that I can't think of his name at the moment, but I know Angel'll step in right away. The Queen of the Edmund Fitzgerald song. So yes, Gordon Lightfoot. So, there's just so much more here than, those little things that people maybe do or don't know about Aurelia. And it allows us to really emphasize why the community is relevant and also growing. I mean, it's one of the last commutable waterfront towns to the GTA, which is really creating attraction. Barrie is now, frankly, no offense to Barrie, it's overgrown. Even the locals there are complaining about, Change is laughing, right? We talked about that the other day. It can take you a day to go across town. It's almost like going across Toronto to go across Barrie. So, people are looking for places to go that are not yet as inhabited. And what's really good about a place like Aurelia is they're doing a huge waterfront revitalization. There's a lot of loft style buildings here. So it's a lifestyle community. And that gives you an opportunity to, doing lists like this and really getting involved in the community to really rank, yourself as an expert in the community. And you can do it at very little to no cost. I mean, this is the great thing about all the digital resource we have now. When I got into this business, almost none of this existed. And you had to paper and print your way to being a superstar, which was very expensive and no track back, right? You only knew who was looking at your stuff by who contacted you, whereas now there's a million ways to Sunday for us to capture information. And that's what's most important, is capturing your viewers.
Amazing. Any other questions before we all go and make amazing things happen today? Going once, going twice, and that's it.
And I'll wrap on
Amazing.
saying this too, SG. I mean, thank you for giving me the opportunity, everybody. So again, reach out. We're very approachable. We'll share anything we know. We're an open book of resource for, if I don't know it, I'm not going to, tell you I do. But, when we were on earlier this spring, remember, SG, when Will Mansour, we did a presentation similar to this. One of the agents actually that day created a list, went out to a listing appointment and won the listing appointment. And that was one of the reasons they got the listing appointment, because they positioned themselves in a more authoritative way than other agents did or do, right? It's always about what's your value add. And this is a simple way to do this. A lot of agents and or the public just don't know you can leverage this tool this way, and it makes you look really good.
That's amazing. That's such a good tidbit to send everyone on their merry way with today. Thank you so much, Gary, for showing us the Google way. We appreciate it, and your time. And thanks for everyone who's showing up. And now go build some lists, folks. Make incredible things happen today. Go win those listings.
That was
Thanks,
so
Gary.
great.
So
Thanks,
good.
Gary.
Thank
You're
you.
Have a
welcome.
great
Thanks, everybody.
Friday. Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Gary.